All right, 1 second here. All right, welcome everyone to this Q&A. Again, want to welcome everyone to this Q&A. Something comes up actually a lot. So I just want to hit this a little bit. The Torah says, just want to quote the Torah. People say I don't quote things enough. Torah says, Parsha Shoftim, book of Deuteronomy, chapter 16, or I would say better, chapter 17. And it says like this, chapter 17, verse 9. Torah says, you shall come to the Kohanim, the Levites, the judge will be in those days. You shall inquire, they will tell you the word of judgment, i.e., right, verse 9, chapter 17, verse 9, book of Deuteronomy. You go to the Kohanim, you go to the Levites, you go to the judge in those days. You ask them, they'll tell you whatever you need to know. If you have questions, you go to them. Verse 10, you shall do according to the word they will tell you. You do according to what they say. From that place that Hashem will choose. Wherever God chooses, you're going to ask them. Should be careful to do according to everything they will teach you. Right? Verse 10, you'll do exactly what the Kohanim, the Levites tell you. Verse 11, according to the teachings, they will teach you. According to judgment, they will say to you. You do whatever they tell you. Right? Shall you do? You shall not deviate from the word they shall tell you. You do exactly what they say. Right or left. So whatever the Kohen and Levite tells you, right is left. Right? Go to the right, go to the left, whatever it is, you do what they say. Verse 12. The man shall act with willfulness. Not listening to the Kohen who stands there to serve Hashem, your God, or to the judge. You don't listen to the Kohen, to the judge, whoever that is. The man shall die, you shall destroy the evil from among Israel. And verse 13, the entire nation shall listen in fear. They shall not act willfully anymore. Right? What does the Torah tell me? Torah tells me that I have to listen to the Kohanim, the Levites in every generation. Right? In those days, I have an obligation. Right? Obligation to listen to them, no matter what they tell me. And if you go against them, you don't listen. Right? What's the punishment? Death penalty. Right? And the Torah goes further. Not just death penalty. Torah says a man or a woman, doesn't really matter, who will act with willfulness. Right? Verse 12. Right? It says if you do it willfully, bizado, you do it on purpose. You do it on purpose. You don't listen to the Kohen or the judge, whoever that judge is, you shall die. Now, what does the Torah tell me? What does the Torah tell me? Karaites, come on. All you Karaites out there, be ecstatic. You're going to be ecstatic over here. Right? Why? Because what does the Torah say? Torah says you got to listen to what the Kohen says, what the Levite says, what the judge says, every generation, for all time. And what happens when you don't listen? What happens if you act willfully against them? But you think you know better. You're the second coming. You know better. Yeah, don't think I haven't heard this. Over the year. I know better. I'm going to do what God says. Yeah, tell me. Please tell me what God says. How do you know what God says? How do you know what to do if you didn't listen to the judge in every generation? If you don't listen to the Kohen in every generation. Kohen in every generation today are who? Who are the Kohanim in every generation? The judges in every generation? The rabbis. That's who they are. So the Torah tells me, book of Deuteronomy, chapter 17. Verses, you can look it up yourself. You don't need me to look it up, right? Verses starting from verse 9. Starting from verse 9 to the end, to verse 13. Chapter 17, verses 9 to 13. So it tells me, you go to Kohanim, every generation, you listen to what they say right or left, you listen to them. You don't listen to them, you act willfully on purpose, because you think you know better, right? I'm going to demolish this idea in 1 second. But a person thinks they know better, yeah? What does the Torah say? You act willfully against them. You go against them. What happens? What happens over here? Death penalty. Death penalty. You have to uproot the evil. Someone here says, oh, what if they're heretical? Who says you listen to a heretic? Plenty of rabbis out there that are heretics. Not me. Plenty of rabbis out there that are heretics. Unfortunately. Even Orthodox rabbis. Who says you listen to them? Why would you listen to them? Why would you listen to them? Oh, I got to listen to Kohen every generation. Yeah, for good, not for bad. You listen to heretics? Who says you have to listen to heretics? Never said that. The Torah says you listen to the Kohen and Levite in every generation. Yeah. It means they're doing the right thing, not the wrong thing. Right? For sure. Yeah. So in that case, you don't listen to them. Not only that, if you know people that might listen to them, you have to come out against them. You have to speak against them. People think that, you got to stay quiet. No, people have to know who you should listen to, who you shouldn't listen to. If the person heretic, you don't listen to them, no matter how smooth they may speak. They can be chief rabbis of countries. Who knows? Who knows who they are? Doesn't matter. At the same time, there's another point. Okay. There's another point, which actually is a good point. Which is a very good point. Yeah. We know the person's heretic. Yeah. So we need someone at that same level that we trust to say this is wrong. Or can we make decisions ourselves? Make no mistake. Make no mistake. Anyone who's going to listen to this, write this down 100,000 times. Do not make decisions on your own. Let's repeat that. Do not make decisions on your own because you think you know better. And I'm going to say it. Everybody combined who's going to listen to this, you don't know better. You do not know better. Don't think you do. I'm not saying, oh, look, he's learned for so many years. His rabbi's top rabbi of the generation. He's got the biggest ego out there. Maybe I do. Yeah, and if you think I do, don't listen. Yeah, so I might have the biggest ego in the world, plus infinity. Maybe. Don't make decisions on your own. If you haven't learned the lick, which most people haven't, do not make decisions on your own. Can you ask questions? 100%. Questions, we love questions. That's not a problem. And sometimes things are hard to understand. Good example, prayer. Prayer is a very good example, right? Person comes to pray. They say, listen, I got these set prayers I have to say every day. They don't speak to me, okay? They don't speak to us in general. Something's more, something's less, right? True. Can someone say even within those prayers, a spontaneous prayer? Yes. Can someone go out to the forest, say their own prayers, whatever they want, once a week, twice a week, 3 times a day if they want to? Yeah, they could. Not a problem, right? Spontaneous prayer we allow. Person's allowed to spontaneously pray. But the rabbis understood, let's make no mistake, the rabbis understood beyond the shadow of a doubt. The rabbis understood what we should say on a daily basis. Now, again, for some people to get into it, you say less things. You don't try and say everything. It's a lot. Even within those prayers, a certain place. Yeah, every prayer. Let's say in the Shemona Esrei, you have the prayer for the paragraph you have for what? For health. Can I pray for sick people in that paragraph? Yes. When it comes to livelihoods, can I pray for my livelihood, family's livelihood, other people? Yes. Right? Comes asking for rain. Yeah. can we have in mind? We can have in mind all kinds of things within these paragraphs. That's also spontaneous. It's just there's a certain nusach, there's a certain standard, certain form of what we say, right? Which some people, they say, I can make up my own prayers. Okay, people can. We're not saying not. It might be shocking. Can a person make up their own prayer? 100%. There's nothing wrong with it. Is it going to take the place of the prayer that the rabbis told us to say? No. No, it can go hand in hand. 100%. Different places you can add your own prayers. It's not a problem. If a person, after they pray, they want to go and have these bodhidus, be alone with God in the forest, can they do it? Sure. Not a problem. Does that take the place of prayer? Let's not make the mistake. Does that take the place? No. That does not take the place of prayer at all. It doesn't. Right? And don't think it does. A person can do it. Not going to say not. There are people that do it. Once a week, once a month, once every 2 weeks, whatever. They just want to unwind, go out to nature, meditate. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with it. What do people get stuck on? And this is not just with prayer, but prayer is a very good example because the Gemara says one of the 3 things always needs to be strengthened is prayer. Sometimes we're just going through the motions and that's bad. Prophets speak about against it, doing things by rote. That's really bad. And we have to work on it. Okay. But there's organized prayer for a reason. Remember, when the sacrifices were being given, there was also prayer. Some people prayed more, some people prayed less. The fixed prayers were much later. And remember, a lot of the prayers fixed by who? By the men of the Great Assembly. 120 men of the Great Assembly. Now, you have to remember as well, among those men that were a part of that Great Assembly, some of them were prophets. All right, let's repeat that. Some of them were prophets. Now, prophecy, we don't have prophecy today. Right? Prophecy, the Gemara says, the only people that prophecy today are imbeciles or little children. Right? So the lowest level prophecy some great rabbis of the generation have, which is called Ruach HaKodesh, divine inspiration. That a person could get to. If you read Path of the Just, you go through everything the Ramchal says, you can get there. I mean, it's very hard. Make no mistake. Yeah. Prophecy, now let's just clarify another thing. Prophecy is not something where, let's say, a person prays, a person prays and the prayer gets answered. I'm not saying instantaneously, over time, whatever, but a person's prayer gets answered. Let's say, right? It certainly can happen. Certainly can happen, right? It can happen in any number of ways. Person's going somewhere to get, they pray before they get there, let this happen, let that happen, and it happens. Right? I had to go to tax authority yesterday, went to the wrong place first. I had to go somewhere else. You know what? It all worked out. It all worked out. Right? Said a couple of prayers before, let it all work out, let it go. Thank God. Sometimes the prayers, no. Right? Sometimes it gets answered. Sometimes your prayer can get answered. Okay. Yeah. Does that mean I prophecy? That doesn't mean I prophecy. It's not even close to prophecy. It means God answered my prayer. But what's prophecy? Do I have the book here? Yeah, in Derech Hashem, let me just bring it out here. If I find it. Yeah. So the book Derech Hashem, great book. Here it is. Right? Derech Hashem, the way of God. And it brings the whole thing here about prophecy. Brings down about prophecy. Brings about divine inspiration. It's in part 3. Chapter 3, right? Part 3, chapter 3, talks about prophecy. And he says, and he explains what prophecy is. Now, again, you have to understand, this book is very much steeped in Kabbalah, right? Very much steeped in Kabbalah, but I think it's a very basic book to understand how all this works. So he says there's such a thing as prophecy. And there are many different levels. He says there are many different levels there. You have divine inspiration, which he says is a hidden influence. Paragraph 3. In the words of our sages, even though it's much lower level. But the true divine inspiration is clear and vivid experience, the one worthy of it. You gotta be worthy. You gotta be worthy of having divine inspiration. That doesn't mean a person comes out of Christianity and 2 weeks later they have divine inspiration. That doesn't exist. It takes years. Take a long time to reach this level. There's another level, true prophecy. Yeah, the paragraph 4. Now, true prophecy says, paragraph 4, I'm just going to quote it, this is sensed with a complete clarity. He knows he's under prophecy. He knows God is speaking to him. Yeah, he knows God's speaking to him. There's no doubts. Right? In other words, he says the individual is sure that we would be as a physical object observed with his physical senses. It's something obvious, something he can sense. Yeah. So he's got this attachment to God. He's got this tremendous bond. And it comes through intermediaries, because man cannot attach himself, paragraph 5, to God's glory. There are degrees of perception, so to speak. And, okay, in paragraph 6, the soul has enlightenment. They're gonna have this revelation, so to speak. And in chapter 4, yeah, this is really what I want to see here. He says possible also, a person can have prophetic experience and not even aware, right? But he says that there are different levels, as we mentioned, and one second. A certain perception, either by words or by things they see, the what's it called? The images, that they see. They're instructed to perform certain acts in conjunction with their prophecy. You have to be at a certain level. You can't make mistakes in prophecy. And also you have a prophecy not as great as the prophecy of Moshe Rabbeinu, but prophecy in the sense where they're not in control of the faculty. They're in a trance, right? Let's make it simple. They're in a trance. They're asleep. They're asleep. In physical terms, Ramchal says, again, this is Kabbalah, but we're just going to bring it out anyway. The person is not awake. Now, a person in prayer, when they do pray, they're awake. Their mind works. They're not asleep, so to speak. Or my language, they're not in a trance. Moshe Rabbeinu was the only one who had such a prophecy, saw God face to face, so to speak. He was able to talk to God like he talks to a person, wide awake. That prophecy is different, as the Rambam says in 13 Principles, and as the Ramchal says also, his prophecy totally different than everyone else. Greatest of all prophets. How is he the greatest of all prophets? He's able to see God in a different way than everybody else. Everybody else is in a trance, right? Asleep. Not while you're wide awake. Cannot be a prophet if you're wide awake. That's not prophecy. I don't know what it is, but it's not prophecy, right? At least according to these sources, it's not prophecy, right? So the idea is we have no prophets today. Now, if a person prays hard and wants things changed and this and that, can God do that? Yes. Can God answer our prayers? Yes. Is that prophecy? No. Is that divine inspiration? No. It's not divine inspiration. You pray, God answered yes. Could God answer no? Yes. Right? Could God say no? He could say no. Doesn't have to say yes. But because something happens Even in the positive, you say, well, it's the result of my prayers. God answered my prayers. Okay. That's not a problem. That's not prophecy. That's not even divine inspiration. These are specific things. Specific things. Now, that being said, so the question was, do we listen to someone who's a crackpot? That might be a Kohen or a Levite or a rabbi. Why do we listen to a crackpot? You don't listen to a rabbi as a crackpot who's a heretic. You don't. That 100% is forbidden. 100% forbidden. Right? So back to what I wanted to get to, and then I'll take any questions. The Torah says clear that there's an obligation to listen to Kohen or Levite in all generations. Right? And whatever they say, the judge in every generation, you have to listen to them. Now, even if I don't understand, now that's okay, because a lot of things we don't understand. Yeah, but if the rabbis tell me this is what I have to do, that's what I have to do. Now, this is hard. This is hard for a lot of people. Either Jews becoming religious or non-Jews coming out of paganism and Christianity. Why should I listen to them? That doesn't make sense. This is illogical. Why should I pray? I don't feel like praying. Maybe I should only have to pray once a day. Maybe I should pray once a week. Why should I say the same prayers over again? These are good questions. These are legitimate questions. The problem becomes when a person says, yeah, it doesn't make sense, and I'm going to do this, that, and the other thing, and I know better. That's different. That is totally different. That's saying, first of all, I know better than the rabbis. I know better, and I know what the Torah says. That's not true. I still have not met someone coming out of Christianity that's so well learned, that can, put me on my behind and school me. No, that's not going to happen. Am I an expert in the Tanakh? No, certainly not. I'm not going to claim to be an expert, but I've learned enough of what the Talmud says and what the rabbis tell us to tell you, yeah, this is right, it's not right. It's a question, it's not a question. Someone coming out, you have no leg to stand on. No offense. No offense. I got to throw everybody under the bus now. Nobody has that kind of knowledge. Nobody. It takes years to learn. But what's the hardest thing? And I think this is the hardest thing. And this is the heart of the problem. And that is people will say, well, this doesn't make sense. Why would I do it? Doesn't make sense. So let me ask the $1.5 million question. $1.5 million question is, does the majority of the Torah make sense? Answer is no. Not just the red heifer doesn't make sense. Keeping kosher doesn't make sense. I have kosher meat, kosher cheese. Torah says I can't mix them. Why? Torah doesn't tell me. Torah only tells me I can't cook a calf in his mother's milk. Yeah. So that means, maybe that means, what about another calf? Not same mother. Can I do that? Torah doesn't tell me anything. So the rabbis come and tell us, what does that mean? It says 3 times. Karaite's going to jump up and down it. Why does the Torah say you can't cook a calf in its mother's milk 3 times? Karaites won't have an answer, or they'll have their own answer, their own quote-unquote rabbinic answer. That's what they're going to have to answer something. I'll tell you what the rabbis say. Rabbis tell us, it mentioned 3 times. Why? To tell you you're not allowed to eat it. You're not allowed to cook it even if no one's going to eat it. And you're not allowed to get benefit from it. So you can't even cook it for a non-Jew. Can't cook it for anybody. Right? Can't get benefit. Can't get benefit over here. Now, is that logical? Why is that logical? Meat, kosher meat, not a problem. Kosher cheese, not a problem. Put them together over heat, a problem. Yeah. Hard to understand. Sitting in a sukkah in the fall when it's cold. Yeah, God said that's what you got to do. Okay, so people won't necessarily have an issue with that. Why? Because God said you got to sit in the sukkah. You got to dwell in the sukkah. Okay, but we don't have definitions. We don't know what that means, sit in the sukkah. Not only that, the Gemara says, how do I know how many wives you're supposed to have? That's how halacha was passed down from God to Moses. We don't, dimensions we don't have. We only have because God passed it down to Moses. We learn it out from different verses, okay? We learn it out from different verses, but again, even when we see what the verses are, it's hard to say. Oh, you want to tell me? Mention the word Sukkot 3 times, right? With a vav, without a vav. So you tell me, okay, 3 means 3 walls. Very nice. Very nice interpretation. Yeah. We got to do what the rabbis tell us, whether we understand it or not. So, prayer is a hard thing. Getting into prayer is a hard thing. I would agree. I would 100% agree. Yeah, but this is a very slippery slope. This is going to separate, quote unquote, the men from the boys, right? If you want to be a Jew, either you want to be a Noahide, you got to listen to what the rabbis tell you to do. How are you going to know what the Noahide laws? Oh, I know there's 7 laws. Yeah, there are more than 60, 65 from those 7. Right? Someone last week said, "Oh, if you're so well versed, you should be able to name them." Yeah. So what was my answer? You're so well versed. Tell me what the 10 commandments are in order. Most people can't do it. Most people, Jews or non-Jews, cannot tell me 10 commandments in order. You want to tell me 65 laws? You should know by like that? Yeah, I should. Yeah, discussing them enough. I should know them all by heart. Should? Yeah, 39 categories. Not allowed to do on the Sabbath. The rabbinical course, I'm going to ask you, name them in order. They're going to ask you name some of them. Not going to ask you name all of them. Someone will say name all of them. See if you know all of them. It's a good thing to know anyway. Definitely a good thing to know. But even if you don't know them, by heart, you should know what they are. Now, the slippery slope is, you'll say, okay, anything that's forbidden the Mishkan, anything forbidden the Torah is a Torah prohibition. Doesn't supersede Shabbos. Rashi, other commentaries say, okay, what about things similar? So the rabbis tell us, anything that's similar, you got to do. Or, sorry, you can't do. Because it's similar to what was done in the Mishkan. Very good. But some of these things don't sound so similar. So how do we know? Because that's what the rabbis tell us to do. You can say, but someone's going to say, yeah, but it doesn't make sense. It sounds kind of foolish. Okay, maybe it does. But you see, no one's going to make that statement. First of all, if they've seen the bigger picture, that's the first thing. And second of all, if they've learned. If they learned how it works and how the pieces fit together, you don't make such statements. You will not make such statements. I'm not saying a person can't ask the question. A person can ask the question and say, wow, where's this come from? Why do we do this? A lot of things we do are rabbinical. The Torah tells me, right, we're busy cleaning for Passover over here, turning our lives upside down. And the Torah says, what's the obligation? What's the obligation on Passover? Obligation is I cannot see chametz in my house. Right? I cannot see it and I cannot find chametz. Should not find it in my house. Okay. And then the Torah says, we'll make it easy. The Torah says I have to eat matzah. A Jew has to eat matzah. Okay. Now what? So the rabbis tell us you got to clean anywhere. Yeah, and chametz. Make sure you don't find chametz. Yeah, right. I don't see chametz. I shouldn't see any leavened product in my house. Very good. What if I walk outside? What if my neighbor, chomping on a sandwich during Passover? I walk outside. Oh, I saw him eating a sandwich. Is that forbidden? Good question. Not my question. Gemara asks the question. Right? Says you can't see your own. What about someone else's? You can say, why is that my problem? A non-Jew's eating a sandwich. Okay, so what does that have to do with me seeing chametz? I can't guard my eyes like that. See him eating a sandwich. What can I do? Is that my problem? Not my problem. Jew, non-Jew, doesn't matter. If I see someone else's chametz, who says it's forbidden, but I wouldn't necessarily know that. I wouldn't know that because the Torah says you can't see it. Right? So what? I can't, you go outside, you happen to go by McDonald's, saw chametz, had to go to the mall, went somewhere, saw a bakery. Oh, is that forbidden? You're going to say, come on. Isn't that a stretch? Says you're not allowed to see it. Come on. We're all the Karaites. We're all the 50,000 Karaites. You should be loving what I'm saying. See, you can't see it. You gotta go outside with very dark sunglasses so you don't see anything. Doesn't make any sense. Always doesn't make any sense because the rabbis tell me I can see someone else's. See, where a person gets into trouble when they don't see the bigger picture is by saying, I know better, this doesn't make sense. So if a person wants to argue with the rabbis, it's their choice. But I would say Kaufman's law is learn a heck of a lot before you open your mouth. Show a little bit of respect. Because there are people who say, oh, the rabbis say this, the rabbis say that. You're right. A lot of what we do is rabbinical. I mean, a lot of it's based on verses. Some are based on verses, let's say in Tanakh, so it doesn't make it necessarily a Torah obligation, right? But the rabbis are telling us it's so important, we're going to quote a verse, right? We're going to quote a verse to the writings of the prophets. There are many things that are written in the Torah, okay? But 80%, of what the Torah says doesn't make sense. Does not make logical sense. So regardless whether it makes sense or not, I have an obligation to keep it. You can say it's blind faith. No, it's not blind faith. Because if I understand the bigger picture, I have to understand it. I have to learn. I have to see where it comes from. Now, keep in mind one thing. And this is, I think, something people have problems with also. That the rabbis say, okay, this is the reason for this. Is that the only reason? Not the only reason. Rabbis could have given 100 reasons. They gave 3. They gave 2. They didn't reveal everything. Right? They revealed a little bit, concealed a lot. Now, person can say, well, this reason, that they gave and what I have to do does not resonate. Doesn't make a lot of sense. Okay? But that's not the only reason. Right? So what are the other reasons? I don't know. Maybe there are a lot of other reasons. Can look them up. Doesn't mean we're just saying there's blind faith. We're just going to keep it anyway. Doesn't mean that. Means I have to understand to the best of my ability. That's what I have to do. And if I don't understand it, I got to work hard trying to understand it. And if I work hard and I don't understand it, I got to let it go. I'm not saying you don't do it, but who says we're supposed to understand everything in every detail? King Solomon himself said, smart, the wisest of all men. So one of the things he had very difficult understanding was about the red heifer, right? You take a cow, purely red, never worked, etc. And you burn it, take the ashes. Someone who was impure, spread the ashes on it, it becomes pure. However that works. And the person doing it, the Kohen doing it, becomes impure. That makes sense? No, totally illogical. Totally illogical. Yeah, at the same time, okay, we still have to try and understand it. Moshe Feinstein, a blessed memory. Torah Giants, the last generation of America, a blessed memory. Right? It says in Parshas Korach, he said, Korach made a serious mistake. What was the serious mistake? The serious mistake is he was jealous. Right? He was jealous of Aaron Cohen. See, he could have been jealous of Moses. Moses is considered the first king. He would have been jealous of Moses and tried to take Moses out. Guess what? They would have killed him. You don't come out against the king. Oh, against the high priest? That we could do. Right? So the Mishnah Perkei Avos, as the fathers tells us, that pride, jealousy, honor can take us out of this world. Some of the commentaries tell us, and I'll get there when I'm 102, when I go through Perkei Avos, what are the commentaries? Some of the commentaries say they're literally, he got killed. He got killed because of jealousy. I came out of Egypt. I held the ark of the covenant. And some people died because they weren't on the level. It wasn't a fool. Jealousy killed him. Jealousy totally destroyed him. Right? So you look at something like that. Yeah, so it says Moshe Feinstein, a blessed memory. What happened over here? What happened? Korach made a serious mistake. What was Korach's serious mistake? Korach's serious mistake was that he didn't look at everything that was being done around him as a divine decree. That's what Moshe says. In other words, as Korach understood, as Moshe said, by the Ber Hashem Moshe Lemor, God spoke to Moshe saying, or to Moshe and Aaron, tell the Jewish people this, that. He didn't make it up. God spoke to him. God spoke to him and told him what to tell the Jewish people. God give reasons? Didn't give reasons. Right? Most of the things in the Torah don't tell us why. Just say, do this, don't do that. whatever it is. Didn't give us reasons. Doesn't have to give us reasons. It's a divine decree. Comes on where Moshe Feinstein says, where was Korach's mistake? Where was the serious mistake? The serious mistake was everything we do is a divine decree. Everything we do is a divine decree. I gotta tell me, but the times to pray and what to pray and where to pray and all that, that's rabbinical. Okay. That's true. A lot of it may be rabbinical. On a Torah level, there's an obligation, the Rambam mothers say, there's an obligation to pray. Doesn't say when, doesn't say how, doesn't say how many times, right? Etc. Doesn't say what, but everyone agrees. There's a Torah obligation to pray. Okay. So everything else, you'll tell me, in that sense, is rabbinical. So there are many things we do that are rabbinical. It comes along with Moshe Feinstein and say, yeah, but that oral law was given on Mount Sinai. That has just as much authority as the written law, because I have Deuteronomy chapter 17. Deuteronomy chapter 17 says, I got to listen to them no matter what. If I don't do it and I think I know better and I think I'm God's gift to the world, because I just came out and I know everything, forget all the rabbis. Guess what? God says over here, you believe the Torah is divine. God says what? Death penalty. You get the death penalty for not listening. Why? Because you're brazen over here. Because you're doing things on purpose to say, I know better. And nobody out there knows better. I hate to break the news. Nobody knows better. Right? And where does it all start? It all starts with a little bit of humility. Humility should go a long way. Now, people should understand, yeah, I'm here to learn. I'm here to listen. I may even be here to be screamed at, but I'm here to take it in and understand what I'm supposed to do. Questions? You can ask as many questions as you want. Right? And all questions are legitimate. We're not saying they're not legitimate. We're saying, first of all, how's the question asked? And a person has to realize what they don't know. You know what a person doesn't know? Everything. You have to be reprogrammed. Brain has to be re-squeegeed. My language. Have to be retaught every last thing. Now again, looking at what the rabbis tell us, some things are hard to hear. Okay. They're hard to hear, maybe. So what? If they had the ability, and this is my line, you can take it for what it's worth. If they had the ability to bring people back from the dead, even though the generation wasn't worthy, why should we? They're just men. Yeah. Yeah, we're 3,000 years away here. We have no idea who these people were, what they could do, what they accomplished. They're very, very smart. No, it's not just they're very, very smart. It's not just, they have all this knowledge. And they have great character traits that we should emulate and all that. It's well beyond that. Well beyond that. We have no idea. We have no idea. And people talk like they're best buddies with these people. Like let's say better. They're on the same level. They're on the same level. Right? Chief Rabbi of England thinks he's on the same level as King David and, and Abraham. Trying to psychoanalyze, 3,500, 4,000 years later. Right? That's why my Rebbe came out and demolished them like a pancake. Saying like, you think you know? You're going to say, oh, he suffers from depression. Yeah. You have no idea who King David was. You have no idea who Yaakov Avinu was. Right? Why did my Rebbe come out so strong? Why did he come out so strong? He came out so strong because here's the person saying, I am, I'm on equal par to say who they are and know what they're going through. 3,500 years later, 4,000 years later. The Gemara says, when we compare ourselves, to previous generation, we're like ants. We're not even ants compared to them. We're not even the crust in your toenails. I'm not going to get gross here. Right in between your toenails, you're not even compared to them. Nowhere in comparison. You're going to say, I know better. I'm on par. I can say things and it doesn't matter. Oh, yeah, it matters. It matters because that's called chutzpah. That's what it's called. It's called being obnoxious, thinking I know better. Can a person ask the question? I'm not saying people can't ask the question. Questions are legitimate. But the Mishnah Pirkei Avos also says, you have to know your place. And there are people out there who don't know their place. They don't know their place. And as most people know, there are a number of things, that get to me. One of them is people misrepresent. One of them is people that lie. And another is people that think they know more than they do. And they don't have humility. And they think, well, my opinion is just as valid. Oh, that doesn't make sense. The rabbis are stupid, God forbid. Or they're foolish. Or how could they say such? Yeah, how could they say such a thing? Let's analyze. Let's go through it. Let's see what they meant. Let's see if we can figure it out. That's a different issue. That's a different issue. But to say, I think this and they're wrong, and like, who are you to say anything? You want to understand it? You have a question? Good. Questions are legitimate. But when you go brazenly against them, the Torah says you go willfully against them, the judges in every generation. Who are the judges in every generation? The rabbis. So you go against them. And again, I'm not talking about where they're heretics, but where you go against them where you're not allowed to, and you have to listen to them. First of all, it shows you have no respect. That's the first thing. It shows you absolutely zero respect. Not only that, it shows that a person thinks they're on par with them. And I beg to differ. Everybody in this generation, all the great rabbis together, in all previous generations, they don't get up to their toenails. They do not get up to the rabbis' toenails, not to mention the prophets, not to mention Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Not even close. Not even close. To say I don't understand, it's hard to make sense of it. Okay. There are a lot of things. There are a lot of things like that. But you know what? Someone in this process, even is about tshuva, right? Even returning to Judaism, or even as a Noahide, it doesn't matter. Because I have issues over here. Okay, let's see. What are the issues? Let's discuss it. Let's go through it, right? They have to listen to us. They have to listen to what the rabbis say. You can't make it up as you go along. You can say, wow, this is very hard to understand. Okay. But a lot of things we do are based on what the rabbis tell us to do. People say, I only want to do what God says. Okay, good luck. Go figure out what God says. Yeah. Person's going to wear a prayer shawl, rabbinic. Yeah. Person's going to put on tefillin. All right. It's halacha given to Moses on Mount Sinai. Very good. But all the things and everything written in it and all the laws of how it's done, all rabbinic. All rabbinic. Yeah. No mitzvah Purim and drinking and feasting and all that. Reading the book of Esther, rabbinic. Some say it's got more of a Torah obligation, whatever. A lot of people say it's rabbinic. Lighting Hanukkah candles, rabbinic. Chicken and milk, rabbinic. There are a lot of things that are rabbinic that we do. I'm not saying they don't have to be understood. What I'm saying is the person has to show respect. And if you don't show respect, that's a big problem. That shows you got a big fat ego that thinks you know better. And a lot of people out there think that with zero education or very little education, or, coming out of Christianity, paganism, wherever they're coming from, thinking I know better than 3,000 years of history. I beg to differ. You want to disagree? Okay. So let's have a discussion. Let's see. Let's see where it goes. Let's see how to understand it, right? It's very easy to say, wow, this doesn't make sense. The rabbis are fools. No, you're not going to say rabbis are fools. You're going to sit there and plug away and try and understand it. You know what? A lot of it's very hard to understand. But guess what? I have to keep it anyway. If I don't feel like praying, I got to pray anyway. We can't go through the motions. You have to learn. You have to be inspired. You have to live. It's hard. On a daily basis, it's hard. There's no question. Sometimes we go through the motions. That's akin to spiritual death. Spoken about that a lot. It's very hard to not do things by rote. I get it. There are a lot of things. Makes perfect sense. It doesn't mean it's wrong. It doesn't mean, because of this, because of that, everything, everything's going haywire, right? And people going off the derech there, going away from Judaism, because of it, even if there is a dropout rate, right? I just want to throw this out there, make sure people understand clear. Even if there is a dropout rate, let's say it's 5%, 10% maximum, right? Let's say. Why do people go off? What are the top 3 reasons? I'll tell you people in the field what the statistics are. One reason is person sexually abused. That's the first reason. Second reason people could go off is because of problems at home, family issues. Third reason, can be learning disabilities. Those are probably the top three. Are there other reasons? Yeah, people don't internalize the message. People get mixed messages, a lot of things. Desire is up there, very much up there, right? There are a number of issues here, right? And we have to find, each one has to find their path to God the right way. That 100% is true. But you know what? Girls' schools, yeshivas, that's what they're emphasizing. That's what they're working hard on. I'm not saying they're 100% successful, right? But they are trying to teach what prayer is, what it means, what it represents, what I should be doing, what I should be thinking. Yeah, but you know what? Even with all that, and a person from a relatively young age is getting all that instruction. Yeah, does that guarantee they have a connection to God? No, does not guarantee, right? Prophet Isaiah says, there are people that are just doing lip service to God. They're making blessings. They say God's name all the time, but they're not there. They don't have a connection. You got to make a connection. You're right. You got to make a connection, connect the prayer. It's hard. So you're going to say, well, get all these written prayers, and they're all saying the same things. Well, that's the reason. Not the only reason. That's not the only reason. They're learning about God and having a connection, this and that. They have to be in tune with prayer. They have to understand the prayers, where they come from, what they represent, look up the verses, a lot of things. A lot of things. It takes a lot of effort. That's not the reason. I would say it's in the top 10, maybe top 5, reasons, but not the reason, right? Let's not make that mistake. Kids are not going off today because of that. They might not have a connection to prayer, whatever, some more, some less, whatever it is. They're being taught. You might be saying they're being taught the wrong way, whatever. They're being taught. They are being taught. But the majority reason why they're going off of the first three I mentioned, and the fourth is going to be desire. The desire and power of the street. That's why they're going on. You might tell me 5, maybe, maybe this disconnect to God, maybe. I'll put it in there. It's not the reason. It's not the top reason. Might be a factor. Not saying not. Could very well be a factor. Yeah, but not the factor. Yeah. Is prayer something that's very hard? Yes. Something you have to work on a daily basis? Yeah. There's no question. Some people into it more, some people into it less. It is what it is. Hate to say it, but it is what it is. And each one has to have their own connections. True. You know what? It takes a lot of effort. And if it would be up to us, we only pray once a month. Maybe once a week. Thank God for whatever. Right? Maybe. But they had an understanding, that we have to pray 3 times a day. Somebody mentions, I'll take questions now. Somebody mentions the correct the rabbi's time the day we pray correspond to the day we sacrifice. Yes, 100%. That's why they were done. We don't have a connection to sacrifices either. But at the same time, we're having sacrifices. There was prayer. Some prayed more, some prayed less, but there was prayer, right? That's no question. Yeah. So even if there would be very little prayer, sacrifices came because of that, right? Because of the the daily sacrifices. So we pray 3 times corresponding to that. There are other reasons. That's one reason, right? That is definitely one reason. Yeah, but we don't have sacrifices today. So what do we have? We have no choice. We have prayer. Prayer is the only thing we have. Yeah, but if you read the prayers itself, now I was just thinking this morning, going through some of these prayers, and it's you're thanking God for so many things. The stars, the moon, the seasons, nature, and how God is awesome, and his power and his might and his mercy, and so many things. And I was whatever, in the middle of prayer, I was thinking the back of my mind, it should have been way in the back of my mind, right? But thinking in the back of my mind, look how profound what we're saying. Look at the ability, what we have to say every day. Other people are going to say it's monotonous, right? I say the same thing every day. How could a person have such a connection? You got to make the connection. Yeah, it's not just that the words are going to speak out to me. It's my Hasidic side here coming out, right? I should be dancing, singing and dancing in the woods, every week or once a month, get back in tune. I'm not talking about that. My feet are firmly planted on the ground, right? But you gotta, to the best of our ability to understand it, right? Look at the words, think about what it says. Prayer needs work, a lot of work. I'm sorry to say, a lot of people don't put the effort in because there's so much you can take out of it. It gives you so much strength with all the difficulties we go through, right? Someone's going to say, oh, this doesn't speak to me. I'm going to say my own prayers. You can say your own prayers. No one says you can't. Your prayers, though, do not supersede getting rid of fixed prayer. It doesn't supersede. Does not supersede. So I tell people, if you're going to pray, say less with more intention. Then eventually you start to say more, but at least understand, read it over and over, see the imagery, right? Feel the imagery even before you say it. Because once you do that, you make it real. Okay. It's such an opportunity to speak to God and everything's going on and this and that. But when you see God's awesomeness and you hear about it and you read about it and you're saying it has an effect on the body, has an effect on the soul, you're giving him everything. Yeah. So you should walk out of there totally drained from prayer. Yeah. Why? Because it speaks to me, gives me an opportunity, right? I've heard many people say, I've tried, it doesn't work. Yeah. Try harder. Things, we live in, for lack of a better term, we live in this instantaneous generation where people think everything's going to come to me and it's going to be given to me in a silver platter. No, right? Get that idea out of your head. It's not going to happen overnight. You got to learn the language. You got to learn the lingo. You got to understand what it means to a certain extent. I mean, I'm not talking Kabbalistic, Kabbalistic interpretation here. It's understanding what God wants from me. It's understanding what my opportunity is. And some people are going to say it's a yoke. They hate prayer, but they go anyway. They answer their minds elsewhere. Okay, they'll get maybe some credit for it. They're going to say, but I learned and I'm supposed to learn. Okay, but you have an opportunity 3 times a day for a guy. 3 times a day of an opportunity to draw close, pour out your heart for what God wants, for everything that God does. And what, pour out our heart for our needs. If a person does it right, you have this, you have this inner peace. The inner peace is, I did everything I could do. I'm leaving everything up to God. You're the one in charge. When you do that, everything else goes by the wayside. Even if God answers no, or God says no, it's going to be hard. Guess what? I'm not going to answer you yet. I'm going to make life more difficult. I'm going to, whatever it is, you're putting that onus on him. You're going to say, how can God make me, how can the rabbis make me pray 3 times a day? Someone here points out very good, because they correspond to sacrifice. We don't have sacrifice, right? And prayer always came with sacrifice. So now it's more formal. Okay, I don't like formal prayer. Okay. Even if a person, I would say, someone who doesn't necessarily like prayer or that, they should be Breslov. What do Breslov do? They sing a lot more. They dance a lot more. They have these bodadoos. They go into the field once a week, once every couple of weeks. Okay, but guess what? That doesn't supersede the 3 times you have to pray for a guy. It doesn't supersede. It's added to it. It's opening yourself out more to it. There are Hasidic sects when they pray, they scream. Now, some might say you're not allowed to scream because it's showing lack of faith, like God can't hear you, but it puts you in a frame of mind. Puts you in a certain frame of mind. Yeah, they're pouring their heart out, screaming. Now, it's not for everybody, right? I wouldn't say it's for everybody. Yeah, but someone has a problem with this issue. I'm sure there are a lot of people out there, because, it can be very dry and it can be very non-meaningful. I get it. But at the same time, person wants to go out to nature, go out to nature. Do it once a week. Do it once every 2 weeks. Do it once every couple of days if you can. Whatever it is, right? A person should do that. If they want to, it's going to draw them close. But make no mistake, this does not say that I don't have to pray the other prayers. This does not supersede that, right? Don't make that mistake, right? I'm just going to do this. I'll do what I want. No, Judaism, or let's say better, Orthodox Judaism, however you're going to slice it, Hasidic, Sephardic, Ashkenazic, it's all the same. There are certain things you got to do. You're obligated to do. That's it. Right? Some like it more, some like it less. Doesn't matter. It's my obligations. These are 100% my obligations. Yeah, we have to understand them to the best of our ability. And some things we're not going to understand so well. And sometimes, you know what? We might just not want to pray. We might not be in the mood. God says, so what? I'm giving you an opportunity. Come close anyway. Open up your heart anyway, even if you don't feel like it, even if it's hard. You'll get more credit for doing so. And that's a good thing. Mitzvahs don't need intention anyway. So even if you say the words, you get credit to a certain extent. For most things. But I get it. It's hard. It's very hard. Right? It's something that's very easy to give up on. Because we don't necessarily see the fruits of our labor here. You work very hard. The answer is no, 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 no. Right? You're not going to get this. You're not going to get that. That's going to be hard. This is going to be hard. Doesn't change. You're going to say, so what's the point of prayer? Prayer never goes to waste. There are many, again, the mistake people make is that we cannot have our own prayers. That's not true. Even within fixed prayer, I can say my own prayers. 100%. That doesn't mean I can't, I can do whatever I want. That's a different issue. That's a totally different issue. The rabbis made these decrees for a reason. We have to try and understand them, right? But we're not the rabbis. In order for us to uproot today something that they enacted, you have to have a greater rabbinical court than their courts. We don't. We don't have greater rabbinical courts today than in their day because they're much greater than us. If you had a greater courts, in number and in knowledge, you can uproot what they say. We don't have it. We don't have it. So you guys say, would I have to go through all this? Again, a person doesn't have to convert. There's no obligation to convert. But understand, 99%, I shouldn't say 99%, whatever. 90% of what we do is according to exactly what the rabbis tell us to do. So if you got a problem with the rabbis tell us to do, you're gonna have a problem being an Orthodox Jew. That's the bottom line. You're gonna have a huge issue, with that. Again, can I ask questions? Yeah. Can I try and understand the best of my ability? Yeah. But the bottom line is, rabbis tell us what to do. You have to do it. You have an obligation. You can't just go on your own, right? And there are people going to do that. There are people going to do that. You know what's going to happen? They're going to disappear off the face of the map. You cannot reinvent the wheel. Cannot reinvent the wheel. Can't think I know better, right? And this is something non-Jews sometimes, not all, coming out of paganism, coming out of Christianity, whatever, have a chip on their shoulder thinking they know. They don't know. I'm telling you, you don't know. You have to relearn every last thing you've ever been taught. And the reason is because you've been taught wrong. No offense. I was also taught wrong for many things. Had to relearn. Totally had to relearn. Kind of humbling. Humbling experience to know everything you learned is wrong. Yeah, that's a humbling experience. But you know what? When you listen and you do what you're supposed to do, you get somewhere. And I've seen more, time and time again. I'll take questions here. Time and time again, that bottom line is if you don't listen to what the rabbis say and you're going to do whatever you think you're going to do, you're in trouble. You 100% are in trouble. You will not get what you need. You will not get, I've heard people tell me, God's going to come to me. He's going to tell me, and that's it. Okay. Yeah, good luck. You can't do things on your own. You got to learn. That's why you have to learn from somebody. Can't learn this stuff on your own. And a person has to have a little bit of humility, which some people I see don't have that. I've seen over the years. They think they know better. Okay. Keep in mind one thing here. I see a lot of questions here. Keep in mind that, somebody's been learning for many years. For many, many years. 10 years, 15 years, whatever it is. However long, they've been learning. They have knowledge. Some have better knowledge. Some have worse knowledge, whatever. But take somebody who's got a PhD. Common will call it pilot higher and deeper, right? Or Papa has dough. Take someone who's got a PhD. Now you're coming out of nowhere. Someone's coming out of nowhere and they say, "Oh, I got a question. It's gonna, I read this on Wikipedia. I'm gonna knock you out." All right, let's see how strong Wikipedia is, or AI GPT or whatever. We're gonna come knock you out. Yeah, okay, let's see. Let's see. Come on, someone read one example I always give. Someone read an article in physics, right? Wikipedia article in physics. You gotta knock off Stephen Hawking, the physicist of the generation, greatest physicist of our time, right? All right, no longer here, whatever. But you're gonna knock him out with one article in Wikipedia? Come on, nobody would ever do such a thing. Nobody. No one have the chutzpah, the outlandishness to do such a thing. But when it comes to Judaism, people think, oh, the rabbis, what does this one know? Come on, I know better. If the person's a heretic, you make fun of as much as you want. That I don't have an issue with. Yeah, the person's been learning for a long time. You got to show a certain level of respect. Yeah, it doesn't mean you can't ask questions. Questions are fine. I don't have the issues people ask questions. Questions are how you ask the question, right? And a person can't think they know better than someone's been learning for 15, 20 years. Day in, day out. You're just coming out like months later. Yeah, it just came out a few months ago or 6 months ago, whatever. I understand, okay. Person doesn't want to hear they have to start from scratch. I've had to do that twice. Right. I've had to do that twice. Very humbling. Very humbling experience. To do such a thing. Okay. Right. But at the end of the day, a person wants truth. That's what you have to do. And you have to have your mind open to be able to listen. And the problem is people don't want to listen because they've been lied to by the church. Why should I listen to men? Why should I listen to the rabbi? It's great. So you have to learn how oral law works and why oral law is the only thing we have and why there's an obligation to listen to the rabbis. Exactly what we said, right? Deuteronomy chapter 17, right? Chapter 17, verses 9 to 13. Yeah, someone asked, what was the light back in the Kohen day of the temple? Each Kohen, right? They had service for 2 weeks a year. They had to serve 2 weeks a year. They had to serve 2 weeks a year in the temple. They were busy, day in and day out, giving sacrifices, teaching people. There was a rotation, right? Someone brings out, right? There was a rotation. It's called the mishmar. It was a rotation. I think 2 weeks out of the year, if I remember correctly, the Mishnah says 2 weeks out of the year they had to serve in the temple, right? They had shifts, right? They had shifts. Outside of that, okay, they had a normal life, whatever the Kohen had to do, without serving, right? He still had a family, etc. So they had certain times they had to serve, okay, right? So when they weren't serving, it went back to normal life, but they were being supported, by the community. So if they weren't working in the temple, they were teaching, they were helping others, right? But they certainly had to be supported. Someone here says, Kohanim were divided into 24 watches, right? A mishmar, that's what it's called, a watch, right? The high priest is a different issue, but the Kohanim themselves were split up, right? 100%. They were split up into 24 watches. 24 we call mishmarot, which means watches, right? So 2 times a year, 2 weeks out of the year, they had to, they had to serve. Yeah, somebody mentioned, if you had a dream a month later, you see it happening. Yeah, that's not prophecy, though. You have to remember dreams in general, unless it's a king that, a king can have specific dreams because God wants something out of them. That's a different issue. Most people that have dreams, keep in mind, dreams mean nothing. Zero. They don't mean anything. Right? 99% of all dreams, the Gemara says, useless, nothing. You could have eaten something spicy, you could have thought something, going on during the day, the week, whatever. A person has certain dreams. We're not having intermediaries coming to us in a dream telling us certain things. Sometimes dreams can be significant. I would agree. Most times dreams are not. And even if let's say a person had a dream, let's say a person had a dream, right? Person makes a very good point. Person had a dream, months later, you see that dream fulfilled. Okay. So it could be there was a premonition. God showed you something, right? And, months later, okay, that does not mean prophecy. That's not prophecy. Prophecy is something very specific. And even a person prayed. Let's say you pray 3 times a day, right? And today you prayed for, a number of things. A number of things. Yeah. So you pray for a number of things, and let's say 2 things get answered in a positive way, or 3 things get answered. Okay. You say, well, isn't that the norm? God should answer my prayers. Doesn't have to. Right? It doesn't have to. Right? Was that a premonition? Or I know God's going to answer. Yeah, we want to have positive thinking. Positive thinking, again, it's a whole nother thing I don't want to get into. Right? Positive thinking and positive words can have an effect in the physical world. They can have, positive thinking can have a real effect. Let's give one example. In the physical world, a person can be very sick. Attitude is everything. Doctors will tell you this. You don't need me to say this. This has been proven. Yeah. If a person has a positive attitude, it can heal them in a much better way. If a person has a negative attitude, yeah, they could die. I've seen this, a few times also. A person had totally negative, a few people I know had strokes. They don't want to go through rehabilitation, other things, they died. It wasn't very long. Till they died. They just atrophied. They didn't want to do anything for themselves, right? Refused to help themselves. They died. Now, does that mean if they had a totally positive attitude, they would have lived 10 more years? I'm not saying that, but positive attitude has tremendous effect. On a person's life. Spiritually also. A person says the mantra many times during the day, God, you're the one in charge. You're the one in control. I'm going to put my best foot forward. Whatever happens during that day, God's the one in charge, right? God's the one in control. If God's the one in control, I have to put my best foot forward, right? 100%, I have to put my best foot forward. But at the end of the day, guess what? It makes life a lot easier knowing he's the one calling the shots. And I'm doing my best, and you're the one in charge, so you have no worries. God will take care of it. How is he going to take care of it? However he does. It may not look pretty. Like I said, I go to tax authority yesterday, and I was expecting certain things, and thank God it went the way I planned, except for one thing, and then the one thing got taken care of today. Totally got taken care of today. So that's it. Sent it in, should be done. Not going to be on my back anymore. And finished. Very thankful. No one wants any tax authority on their back, breathing down their neck. Okay, right? It got taken care of. Thank God. That was one of the things I prayed for. I was at the wall yesterday. One definitely, gave thanks after that. Before and after. Saying, okay, you're the one in control. You did it. Very good. Thank you very much. Made life a lot easier. Don't have to run around doing other things. Very good. I don't have to turn myself into a pretzel. Yeah, God could have made it a lot more difficult if he wanted to. But my attitude was, okay, I'm doing my best. This is what I have to do. I don't want to have to do it, but okay, you're the one in charge. Guess what? You allowed it to happen. It was good. Right? It ended up good. I still have a debt to pay, but okay. But, it ended up fine. So, what happens if the person has a premonition? We don't, I don't give much stock into these things, because I don't think it means very much. Person can think certain things, and if it manifests itself, okay. Positive thinking and different things in our minds can have a positive effect. True. That doesn't mean it's prophecy. Don't make the mistake. That's not prophecy. Right? It's wishful thinking. It's good thinking. Positive thinking has a role. It has a more of a role than we think. Let's just say that. It's got, the way a person thinks can have a tremendous effect. There are things that can open our eyes that, God sends our way. Now, example I've given, I was on a bus, not the greatest moods, different reasons I won't go into. And, a few seats in front of me, I see there's somebody that's mentally challenged. I know exactly how mentally challenged. Person got off the bus, someone had to help him off the bus. Couldn't really walk so well. Other than I'm not going to go into all the details. To me, that was a message. That was a very strong message. Right? And the message was, you got problems? You do have problems. There are issues. Okay. Difficult issues you're going through. Okay. Look at this person now getting off in front of you. Can't walk by himself. Can't take care of his own needs. Right? Needs other people to help him. Right? You should be thankful for what you have. Yeah, I looked up to heaven. I said, Thank you very much. I got the point. I wasn't whistling Dixie after that, but yeah, I got the point. Yeah, so you're going to say, see, God spoke to you. How do you want to define that? He didn't speak to me directly, right? I'm not going to have a civil complex. He didn't speak to me directly, but he showed me something. He showed me something indirectly. Yeah, and I made that connection. Like, no, you didn't make it. God showed it to you. Okay, whatever it is, it's not prophecy. It's not premonition either, right? A person can think certain things that happen and say, okay, yeah, but it sounds kind of, it's kind of hard over here, right? Because that's not premonition. Yeah, or premonition is not, nothing to do with prophecy or anything else. Doesn't have any, shouldn't have any effect. It's positive thinking, okay? There's nothing wrong with that. Maybe we want to say that's the same thing as premonition. I don't know. Positive thinking can have a tremendous effect. That's true. That is true. But at the same time, you know what? God can say no a lot. He can make life hard a lot. But he can also make life, good. Someone asked, talking to prayer, nighttime prayer says something about a wife being like an olive shoot. The women say this too, yeah? Why can't women say it? Women say it. They can certainly say it. It's not a problem. Right? That's not, say her husband is like, I don't know, the women say it, then it doesn't change for women. The prayer is the same. Even if it says a woman's an olive shoot, whatever, it's the same. It doesn't, that prayer doesn't change. Someone asks, I thought, Torah says a Kohen can only be from the loins of Aaron, yeah, from tribe of Levi. Right? Moses and Aaron are Levites. So the Kohen comes from the tribe of Levites, i.e. from Moshe and Aaron. Right. Does that mean only DNA or seed can be true Kohanim? Kohanim is passed down externally from the father. Go after the tribe. Sorry, the tribe goes after the father. Right? To know who the mother's Jewish, then the child is Jewish, but externally the tribe comes from the father. So anybody who's the Kohen will be from the tribe of Levi. That's kind of funny if you think about it. Why aren't they called? Why don't they have their own tribe? So they're all part of the same tribe. A Kohen and a Levite are from the same tribe. I have heard that Kohanim, their DNA is similar. Right? DNA is similar for all Kohanim. I have heard that. What I make of it, not really sure, but if what they say is true, that DNA is very similar for people from that tribe, yeah. So very good. Very good. So a Kohen can only be someone from that tribe, right? Can only be someone from, first of all, they have to be Jewish, obviously. The woman doesn't have to be a Kohen, right? The father has to be a Kohen. So if the Kohen is married to a Jew, right, Jewish woman, that child is a Kohen, right? Or a Bas Kohen, or let's say the daughter of a Kohen, right? But if it's a son, he's a Kohen, right? Passed down from the father, right? As long as the mother is Jewish. Is the adoption theory what the Christians use for the false Messiah? Yeah, it could be. Not sure exactly what you're referring to, but as long as the mother is Jewish, and the mother, let's say again, mother's a regular Yisrael, someone who's not from the tribe of Levi, right? Let's say she's not disqualified from marrying a Kohen. She marries a Kohen. That child is a Kohen, right? If it's a boy, he's a Kohen. He would serve in the temple. If it's a girl, right, she's the daughter of a Kohen. Now, she can marry anybody. She doesn't necessarily have to marry a Kohen. She can marry anybody. Yeah. So I'm not exactly sure adoption theory here. Let me see other questions here. Someone asked last week, gave a class about converts. Yeah. And I saw this person says parallel. Can I explain it? Why, I saw a parallel why they hate Jews. I'm not exactly sure what you're referring to, but I'm just going to say that we're our own worst enemy. And we don't have to give non-Jews a reason to hate us. They got plenty of reasons. Unfortunately, we do the wrong thing a lot of times and causes hate, right? We cause our own hatred, which is bad, and we're all intertwined. So when we do the wrong thing, all Jews get blamed. 100%, all Jews get blamed, even if one Jew did something wrong, even if they were a secular Jew, doesn't matter, right? We're all intertwined. The Gemara says, "Kol Yisrael Ravim Zeh Zeh," all intertwined. Since we're all intertwined, Jews get blamed, even if one Jew does something wrong, and if they're a secular Jew. Can Orthodox current convert invite his pagan parents? Yeah, to the wedding, not a problem, right? They, why can't they invite them? You can't have pagan customs there, obviously. Right? You got to do things according to Jewish tradition, but yeah, you can invite them. You can invite non-Jews to the wedding if they want to come. If you have non-Jews to invite, they certainly can come. But at the same time, it's no problem. Secular Jews, same thing. Let's say a child becomes an Orthodox Jew. Parents aren't religious. Can you invite them? Yeah. Can you invite their siblings? Yeah. You can invite them. And what if they're intermarried? Invite their wives also. What's the problem? What's the problem to invite them? I mean, they can come. It's not a problem, right? They're not doing anything. It's not like they have such a religious ceremony they're doing that you wouldn't be able to go to. But yeah, they can come. That wouldn't be an issue. Keeping Nazarite vow, canceling mom's status. No, that does not help. Can't make an Nazarite vow anyway. The only way to fix a mom, you can't really fix the mamzer today. The only way would be if moms are married a slave and they had a child, that child is no longer a mamzer. Mamzer can marry converts, right? Or similar union, right? In other words, you have two people not allowed to be together. They have a child. That's status of a mamzer. It doesn't necessarily mean out of wedlock, right? But a Nazarite vow does nothing. It does nothing. No vow does anything to get rid of that status. There's no way. There's person can make any vow they want. That doesn't help, right? The only way it helps is that they marry. If they marry a slave, that child they have will not be a mamzer. Doesn't help them. Will not help them. Right, and they can marry a convert or someone of a similar union, but that's it. Doesn't change their status. Only change the status of the kids. So no vow anyone's going to make is going to help. Someone asked, this parsha says, what does it mean? Anything that touches shall become holy. How does something become holy? Sanctified. Something becomes sanctified, right? Let's see what you're referring to. 6 verse 11. What's it talking about? Torah says, book of Exodus. Let's see. Torah says, every male children of Israel eat it, throw a portion of your garments, fire offerings of Hashem, whatever touches them shall become holy. In other words, what do I have? What do I have over here? 1 second. So any male of the children of Israel, of children of Aaron, right here, what are we talking about before? It says, don't make any leavened bread. I presented to share my fire offerings. Fire offerings are considered the most holy. Yeah. In other words, a certain level of holiness goes in from whatever the sacrifice is. So in other words, the person touches it. Again, what does the Torah say? It's holy of holies. Right? It's the strongest level of holiness. Yeah. So a person touches it. If they're impure, they can't touch it. Not allowed to touch it. Right? It's got a specific, very, very strong scent. Or I shouldn't say scent, whatever. It's got this strong idea of holiness. So a person touching it, right? Let me just do 1 second. I'll check one thing here. 1 second, 6:11. Oh, yeah. So Rashi there says anything you touch, in this case, touch this holy thing, you become like it is. Right? In other words, if for some reason you were disqualified, this thing is, in other words, you were impure, whatever you ate also becomes impure, right? When you touched it. In other words, if it's person is kosher when they ate it and they touched it, also has that same effect. So it has an effect, right? It has an effect. Can have a can have a positive effect, right? No question. And if a person was impure and he touches, it's going to have a negative effect, right? That's what it means, right? This is going to have a positive and negative effect. In other words, if I touch it, if a person touches it and they're in a pure state, makes them pure. Just by touching it, because the essence of what it is, right? That's what it does. If a person, God forbid, is disqualified or blemished or whatever, or is impure, wouldn't be allowed to touch it. And if they do touch it, what happens? So they make that impure. Somebody asked, confused about the time of the council made the Siddur. That was the first prayer book we have is the 8th century, or 5th century, I think, or the 8th century of Sajigon. I think it's the 8th century. That Rav Sajigon put together all the prayers into one book, made the prayer book. Wasn't the Siddur of the prophets being there? No. A lot of this passed down orally, right? The prayers, some of the prayers at least were designed by the men of the Great Assembly. Again, there were some prophets there, but remember, prayer was always there, even with sacrifices. It just wasn't organized. Some people said more, some people said less. Until it got solidified and put into a prayer book in the 8th century. I think it was the 8th century, right? How are the prophets during medieval times? They're before. Prophets were before. I'm just saying what people said more or less, different things was passed down. Was passed down from the time before the Second Temple, right? It was passed down, from when Moses got the Torah. Some people said more, some people said less, whatever it is. But the prophets came along and said, say this, say that, etc. So I'm not sure where the confusion is, right? Again, what the prophets said in their time was passed down generation to generation. So then it was codified later, right? The prayer book itself was done much later, right? It doesn't mean just because the prophet said it, and the Rambam came along in medieval times and organized it, doesn't mean they didn't have the prayers or they didn't have, they didn't know what to do, whatever, right? It's a totally different thing. In other words, they had it from way back, and they passed it down generation to generation. Eventually, it got solidified into our prayer book in the 8th century. All right, that's how it works. Someone asked, 1 second, other questions here. Secular Jew born in a non-kosher way is a mamzer. Yeah. Well, here's a change. No. 1 second. Secular Jew. Yeah, if they you don't convert. A secular Jew is a Jew. If they become Orthodox, they still have the status of being a mamzer. That doesn't change. They don't convert. They don't convert over here. They change their status, but it's not conversion. Right? So since they become an Orthodox Jew, they've seen the light, so to speak. They become an Orthodox Jew. That does not change anything in their status of a mamzer. That will not change. Right? So conversion, again, someone who becomes an Orthodox Jew, they don't, if they grew up as a Reformed Jew, they become an Orthodox Jew. Conversion. Why is there conversion? There's no conversion. Right? If there's no conversion, then that status won't change. Right? That status doesn't change. Drop of milk at the side of pots. Yeah, depends. You don't throw away the whole pot or the food. Depends how much is there. Let's say you have 60 times the amount of meat against that milk, then disappears. Then that milk disappears, and I don't have to throw away anything, not the pot, not the food, right? If I had 2 drops of milk fall in 60 times the amount of meat, I get a problem. Now I need 120, right? I don't have nullification over here, right? One, if 2 drops, I don't have enough for nullification. 1 drop, I do. 1 drop, I would. So if I had 1 drop and I had 60 times against it, nothing has to be kosher, right? Not the food, not the meat, nothing. If I have 2 drops of milk, right? Now I have 60 times or 80 times of meat against it. I need 120, right? So therefore, the meat's not kosher, the pot's not kosher, and all that. Someone says, I heard there's a certain amount of milk if it falls in a meat stew. It's allowable as long as it wasn't on purpose. What difference does it make? What difference does it make if it's on purpose or not? Did it make it non-kosher or not? In purpose doesn't matter, right? That shouldn't matter. Intention shouldn't matter. The question is it kosher or not? Were the 60 times amount against it or not? Right. There's another issue. Let's say there wasn't enough. Let's say I didn't have 60 against and I add more meat. Let's say I had a whole nother thing of meat. Now I stir it up, I get rid of the milk. That you're not allowed to do. That's a different issue because then I'm nullifying something that's forbidden. That's a different issue. If I already know something's forbidden, I don't have 60 times the amount of meat against milk. What do? Oh, I'll add more meat. I add more potatoes. I'll nullify it. No, you can't do that. That you're not allowed to do. Once it's a forbidden mixture, I cannot add in on, maybe that's what you meant. I cannot add on purpose other things that are permissible to nullify. That you can't do. That is forbidden. But if it happened by accident or on purpose, what difference does it make? Right? In other words, either it's nullified or it's not nullified. So if it's nullified, very good. If it's not nullified, okay. If you did it on purpose, that's worse. That I would agree, but it doesn't matter. It's either going to be forbidden or permitted, right? Either way. Someone asked, why aren't you allowed to tear toilet paper? Yeah, it comes out of the category of Korea of tearing. You're not allowed to tear. There's certain things for food you'd be allowed to, as long as you destroy it, you can't use it again, make it into another vessel. Yeah, but I think it was like material that was made in the Mishkan, that was ripped, right, or was torn. So because of that, we don't rip things, right? In general, I mean, if you did, okay, but in general, we don't rip because of that, right? So best thing to do is either rip it beforehand or use tissues. I remember once someone was like so grossed out, someone, I grown up with, that's like, is it true? Orthodox Jews don't rip toilet paper. I said, yeah. So they said, well, what do you do? So I said, either you rip it beforehand or use tissues. This person's like horrified. I don't know why. Like, it's so gross. Like, how could you not rip toilet paper? Or whatever. I could use tissue. I don't know why they were so grossed out. So I said, you go to certain places of the world, they have a hole in the ground and a bucket of water. They have a bucket of water on the side. That's gross. That's what I said. I said, that's gross. I think using tissues, is a lot better and more hygienic than doing that. But teach their own. But they, I said, so I said, you go to a country like that, be careful with shaking people's hands. But in such a case, using tissues, I don't think it's so bad. Right, someone there mentioned about prayer changing people. Yeah, again, what happens? People get caught up in saying the same thing over and over again, and why should I do it? I want to speak to God in my own language. I get it. Yeah, but prayer can be tremendously uplifting. I agree. But, you have to learn about it. You have to work on it. It's not something that happens overnight. And again, I'm going to throw this out there also. You go to a synagogue, people are like, the mind's wandering. You can see sometimes an expression on the face. They're just not there. Okay. Make no mistake. Don't mix up Jews and Judaism. Yeah. Just because people do things doesn't mean it's right. And not only that, when you get upstairs, God's not going to ask why they didn't do this or why they didn't do that. They're going to ask you, why did you pray by rote? Why didn't you work on yourself? God's not going to care about everybody else. He'll deal with them. Right? But it's not for us to say, oh, look at them, I'm going to say what I want and do what I want. That's not the answer. That's the wrong answer. Right? You're going to do what the rabbis tell you, whether you like it or not. right? But at the same time, just because Jews do things doesn't mean it's right. Prayer is something that's very hard to work on. Let's repeat that. Prayer is something very hard to work on. That's what it is. Person shouldn't think otherwise. And even if people, let's say you look around and people's minds aren't there, you just see like they're just staring into space, doing other things and this and that when they should be really focused. That's a problem. I agree. I am not going to disagree. That's a problem. Yeah. What does that have to do with me? I have to pray anyway. You can say it's annoying and this, okay, but what does that have to do with me? Someone's going to come along and say, I'm going to make up my own prayer. I'm going to do that. Come on, there's a limit. You can make up your own prayer. I'm not saying not. Not saying you can't, but what other people do shouldn't be a factor. Should not be a factor at all. Someone asks, what verse talks about the gathering of Jews to Israel when the Messiah comes? One second. Let me see here. It says, where's this quote from? It's a good question. Let me see 1 second. Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 3-5. Lord your God will bring back your exiles. Will have mercy upon you. Once again gather to you from all the nations. Even if your exiles at the end of the heavens, Lord your God will gather them. From there will take you from there. That's Deuteronomy chapter 30, verses 3-5. You got, where is this? Ezra chapter 1, verse 3. Among all your people, let God be with him. May ascend to Jerusalem, which is in Judea, build the house of the Lord. Yeah, it's also talking about coming back to Jerusalem. Where else? I mean, I'm sure there are a lot of places here. And Isaiah talks about it, chapter 11. Chapter 11, verses 11 and 12 speaks about it. Yeah, Deuteronomy, what do we mention? Chapter 3, again, Deuteronomy chapter 30 speaks about it as well. Probably a lot of places, other places. Those are just a few examples about that. Yeah. Someone here asked in our prayers, it speaks of Kohanim, the Levites, and the priests. Were the priests the firstborn of the tribes? Not necessarily. They don't have to be the firstborn. And so who says there's an obligation they should be the firstborn? There's no obligation they should be from the firstborn. Someone asked if you see dreams playing out, let's say in the Holy Land, again, dreams don't mean a whole lot. Even if we see them plan out, okay. Let's say a person has a dream, and certain things happen where they are far away, whatever it is. Okay, so it could be something got revealed in the dream. God wanted you to see for whatever reason. And then it comes to pass. Okay, that's not prophecy. Prophecy, again, let's make no mistake. Let's make no mistake. If a person has a dream, if they're in a trance, yeah, or they're asleep, they know they're being communicated by God, right? Usually through an intermediary. That's prophecy. Nobody can claim that today. Nobody has that. Nobody has that. But again, even if a dream would come true, okay. So what? It's not prophecy. Certainly not prophecy. It's not divine inspiration either. So what is it? It could be God's giving you, information what's going to be. But that again, I don't know. I don't know how to define it. It's not divine inspiration. It's not divine inspiration. Certainly not prophecy. What is it? I'm not, I don't know. Can't put my can't put words to it, but it's not, it's, God can give a person certain information, okay. But, if you're not giving it, in a direct way, say, oh, this is going to happen this, this time, that time, that, the next day at 4:00. Okay, so that's not prophecy, right? God's showing you something, or an intermediary, whatever you want to call it, is showing you something. But again, if you're not given, the day, the hour, this and that, but it could come true. Okay, so, what do I would call it? I don't know. I don't have words to say what it would be. I can tell you what it's not. I can tell you it's not prophecy. I can tell you it's not divine inspiration. I don't have words to describe what it is. People lose their minds about how they got when Mashiach comes. Yeah, the whole thing. Someone asked me about this earlier. I don't want to get into politics. I got stuck in traffic yesterday, whatever, because of these stupid protests. And I told someone today. I just mentioned it because I thought it was funny. Waiting for the bus, and a whole bunch of protesters, walks by. They go by, and they had all these flags, all these flags of rainbow colors, whatever. And they had this picture of Netanyahu, Smotrich, anyone knows who they are, Smotrich and Ben Gvir, it's like with with like lipstick on, and like women. Like women. And I saw how some of these people were dressed and whatever, and I'm just like, you got to be kidding. Like, you're gonna dress these up as a bunch of fairies? I'm like, come on, like there's no limit. I mean, I didn't stop them, I didn't say anything. I just looked by and I'm like, you got to be kidding. And the irony, okay, they put a lot of pressure on them. They stopped, they halted this legislation until the summer. We'll see what's going to be, in the summer. But again, the left agrees with the right. Something has to change. You can't have corruption. You can't have what do you call it? You can't have Supreme Court judges. They decide who's going to be the Supreme Court judges, and they decide they can intervene in any part of any legislation and knock it off. You can't have that. That's total corruption. Everybody agrees. Nobody disagrees over here. The question is, how far are you going to take it? You need checks and balances. No one disagrees. Why are they jumping up and down thinking it's going to be a dictatorship and a theocracy and all that? They're nuts. The left wing is nuts. Guaranteed, if this would have been the right wing doing it, they'd be beating people silly. They'd put them in jail. Nothing to talk about. Nothing to talk about. This came in because of a lot of pressure. There's a lot of pressure. Okay, right? A lot of pressure from within and from without. I'm not saying it's right. I'm saying it's right, but everyone in the coalition agrees. Everyone agrees this is going to go through. They just they pushed it off because you can't have civil war in this country. Okay, that's crazy. They got a lot more votes to make this coalition than the other side. Don't they have a right to implement what they want? They have a right to implement. They're not talking about theocracy, for goodness sakes. That's why they're talking, but it's not even close. Not even close. Someone says, yeah, I read about it. Saw the article in the paper this morning. Yeah, it's probably totally anti. Totally anti. This would never go on in any other country. Imagine Congress was passing legislation left and right. The Supreme Court knocks everything out. I don't like this. I don't like that. They knock it down. It's unconstitutional. It's this, it's that. That would never happen in any country, any normal country. I'm not saying Israel's a normal country, right? That would never happen. Never happen, right? But you got a government's got a mandate. They have a mandate to govern. Fair and square. They won the election from day one. From day one, they've been trying to do all kinds of things. Delegitimize this government. Same thing, and I'll go out on a limb and say it. People don't have to like it, whatever. Same thing with Trump. 4 years, what the Democrats do, trying to get him out of office. All this collusion, you don't have to like him, it doesn't matter. Everything with Russia and all. They didn't find anything. Nothing. And who was behind it all of it? It was Hillary Clinton. Oh, look at that. But I'm not getting into politics. Same thing, witch hunt. Total witch hunt. There's no difference. What are they arguing about? We're not, the right wing is so right wing, and they're gonna start doing this, and women have to shave their heads and wear burqas. That's absurd. It's totally absurd. It's a secular government for the most part. It's totally nuts what's going on. Yeah, but in any normal country, this would never exist. If it's a normal democracy. Supreme Court has that kind of power? Come on. Never. Stick their nose in where it doesn't belong. Not only that, I made a good point. One of the religious lawmakers, other religious lawmakers, part of the government for 30 years, saying everything the Supreme Court has done has been against religious people. Every single thing they've intervened has been against. Again, so we're not lovers of the Supreme Court, not by any stretch. Everyone agrees it has to be changed and nothing to talk about. But now it's creating civil war. So, okay, what are they going to do? What kind of compromise? I don't know exactly, but, that's insane. Totally insane. Someone asked, what makes someone a mamzer? What makes someone a mamzer is somebody that is part of a forbidden union. They're not allowed to be together and they have a child. Doesn't necessarily mean both have to be married, per se. Right? It means someone who is not allowed to be with somebody else. They have a child. That child has the status of a mamzer. Right? Doesn't mean the woman gets pregnant before married to the father. Again, it's a forbidden union. Whatever forbidden union it is. Right? Could be an adulterous relationship. It could be someone not allowed to be with. Right? Doesn't have to be adulterous. Right? So, was David Amelech like a mamzer? I don't know. I don't think so. His great-great-grandmother was a convert. Yeah, Ruth was a convert. So Ruth herself, 4 generations later comes King David. He's not considered a mamzer. Why should he be considered a mamzer? Yeah, I don't know why he would be considered a mamzer. Yeah. Don't have all these questions because other people are embarrassed. Don't, it's a good question. People shouldn't be embarrassed to ask questions. Shem said the first issue of his womb. Yeah, it's the first. Yeah, it doesn't mean that a priest has to be the firstborn. Yeah, I got that. One second. Let's see all the questions here. When we need help with Psalms, we recite 121 or 136. Person needs help. Person needs help. 1 second. What's the matter on my screen? I don't know. According to me, it looks good. Right? I don't know. I don't know why it looks blurred to some people, but to me, I still look pretty good. Right? Still look pretty good. I don't know. I have to look at that afterwards. Someone asked, yeah, person's in dire straits. Psalm 121, 130. Say 130. Say both. Definitely say both. Say one or the other, but you can definitely say both. Yeah. Bibi's grandparents come from Lithuania. Okay. Very good. So I told someone today, told someone earlier that, what do I think of, Netanyahu? And I'll just say that, listen, the right's better than the left, but the right's no great shakes either. Definitely no great shakes. We have our issues with them as well. But, philosophically, they're better. They're definitely better more to our needs, the needs of the ultra-Orthodox community than certainly the left. That is no question. But again, it's not, doesn't make him, doesn't mean we love them any great shakes. They're just, they're just a natural partner for us, than certainly than the left. Someone here mentions a rabbi talking about dreams, fake dreams, brain producing, let's say, nonsense movie. Okay, demonic dreams, real dreams, prophetic dreams. Yeah, what are real dreams? Either visions that either literally make show the future, make show visions of certain things. Okay, that could be real. right? Yeah, but who's it reserved for? Very good. Prophets. Those are real dreams, right? Show future, visions that may contain a certain message. Yeah, that's different. That's prophecy. God's giving a message to a prophet to give over. Yeah. Yeah, very true. Someone says they're trying to start a color revolution. Yeah, it's crazy. It is crazy. I mean, you got so many deviants in this country that whatever, that's, Rabbi would say, I'm not afraid of Iran or anyone else. I'm afraid of Jews that in Israel who sin. Jews outside of Israel sin is also bad. But when you're sitting in the house of the king and you got the gall to walk around with these stupid flags, and showing off that, I am on purpose, doing something that God dislikes. I don't care what they know, what they don't know. It doesn't matter. You're doing that in God's backyard. God should have mercy on all of us. 100% God should have mercy on all of us. Yeah. Any other questions? All right, we're gonna stop here. I do this every Tuesday and Thursday, 10 o'clock Eastern time, 5 o'clock Israel time, back on normal schedule here. Anyone has any questions, find me on Facebook at Michael Chaim Kaufman, Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism, or my YouTube channel, Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism. I got Q&As there, Torah portion of the week, ethics of my fathers, controversial issues, or you can send me an email, rabbichaimkaufman@gmail.com, RBBICHIMCOFFMAN @gmail.com, which have a good beginning of the day, end of the day, or middle of the day.